Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on how to control your inbox. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host, and our presenter is Belinda Sandor. More on Belinda in just a minute, but first some brief information on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA, and locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have over 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process and subject matter expertise, and we offer three primary value-added services to small business owners. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling, and you can access that by using the yellow bit.ly link you see here on the screen, or you can go to our website and click on the Request a Mentor link, and we offer counseling either face-to-face, by video, by phone, by email, whichever way that you would like to take advantage of that service. Secondly, we offer a wide range of business education programs like the one today, about 100 throughout the year. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts. Our next live webinar will be this Thursday, February 10th at noon, and the topic is business planning, SWOT analysis, with Harvey Hoffman presenting. And again, you can find more specifics on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. And if you're on our website, you can also take advantage of a large number of archived webinars that you can access on demand at any time. Just some logistics about today's webinar. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation, but Belinda may also take them as she goes along. I know she likes to do that. So you can access the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen, and you can just type in your question at any time during the presentation, and we'll make sure it gets answered. We will end our webinar sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time today. The session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, within the next day or two. It's now my great pleasure to introduce our speaker, Belinda Sandor. Belinda is a business workflow and logistics expert with 25 years of experience and the founder of Rocket Girl Solutions. And Belinda's company is hired by small businesses to act as their part-time business manager. She helps her clients make more money, more efficiently, and with less stress via streamlining and improving systems, online payment setup, and management, social media engagement, website builds, and marketing automation. Belinda, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to start out by giving you a little bit of background on me, because I know a lot of the experts show up and we look all shiny and fabulous. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the journey, because it was not a straight line, and it did not start when I was 20. It started a lot later. So what I want to tell you about is, so this is me and my daughter, Emily, 11 years ago when I started my business, and she's 9 years old. And what she doesn't know, as she's sitting there all snuggled up with me, is that I'm in a ton of debt. You know, not like a couple $1,000s on my credit card kind of debt, but like serious debt. And I'm getting divorced, so I'm a newly single mom, and I don't have a job. And I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what exactly to do. And I had to move 3 times in 4 years before we finally got settled. So you can imagine that there was a lot of struggle. And the reason I want to tell you this is because I know when people start businesses, it's scary. It's very scary. And there's nothing more, it's really an exercise in personal development, right? Because you have to look at all the things that you have to do and sort of stare them down in order to take that big step for being an entrepreneur. So I just want to acknowledge that, because it's not easy. However, I did start my business. I found my first clients at the school bus stop, crazy places. And I stepped into it a little bit at a time. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I had a lot of help along the way. You're very wise to be looking at SCORE and talking to them. But I want to tell you, so from this place of struggle everywhere and not feeling like I was going to be able to change the trajectory of my life, because I was almost 50 years old. I want to walk you through what happened by stepping into this journey. So I've been in business 11 years, which I can't believe. I'm completely unemployable at this point. There's no way I would consider taking a job at all. And I've worked with over 225 clients, which is how I have learned about cleaning out email inboxes. It's been firsthand. So we're going to jump into that in a minute. And the other thing is, from an idea of being a virtual business manager, really a virtual assistant, I worked in my home and was able to make over $1 million because I figured out how to make $100,000 a year. So I just want to tell you that you absolutely can do this. It's not easy, but it's really worth it. And the lifestyle of being a business owner, it can be amazing. And so now this is what it looks like. So I got married this summer. Here's my daughter, kind of all grown up. This is my husband, Greg, and his boys. And so it's not too late if you want to step into a new opportunity for yourself. So I just really want to say that. All right, so now let's jump into your email inbox. And Bob was right. I really like these to be interactive. I think it's a lot more fun for everybody, and I think you'll learn more as you post your questions for me. So what I want to know first is, how many emails are in your email inbox right now? And I want you to tell me the truth, because what is it? Stating the problem is the first step, or something like that. So tell me how many are in your inbox, and I'm gonna watch in the chat. So for me, my inbox feels a little out of control right now, but there are, I think there are about 60 in there. Okay, Jennifer, okay, 27,000, okay. Okay, let's see, this is great. Read or unread, either one is fine. Well beyond, too many, thousands, 20 unread, that's pretty good, Benny. Aniko says 844, 1,200, all right, 100, that's good. 4,000 unread, in about 15 accounts. I'm sorry, we're gonna help you with that. 40,000, several thousand. Okay, so what I wanna do is I wanna explain that you're not alone, okay? You're not alone. So we've got some questions here, and this is great, you guys, this is great, okay? So and you keep putting them in, I love this. Thousands, 115, I'd share anonymously, but I'm too embarrassed to post in the chat. Okay, 25,000. Okay. All right, I used to be you. In fact, I used to play this game and I called it looking for bombs. And what that meant was I'd go into my email inbox for the last week or so, and I would look for things that if I didn't handle them, they would explode. Something bad was going to happen. And I spent a lot of time doing this because my inbox, I never deleted them, And the other thing is, it's kind of a badge of honor that I want you to step away from, of how many emails are in your inbox, because instead of how crazy busy you are, we always hear people talk about being crazy busy. I really want you as an entrepreneur to take control of the things you can control, so you'll have time and freedom to do the things that are important in your business. Because when I'm looking for bombs, I can't think about new ways to make money. I can't think about how to innovate. I can't, I can't do any of that because I'm tied to my email inbox, and it can be pretty scary, not knowing when something's going to blow up. So a big part of being an entrepreneur is being proactive in managing your business and treating it like a business, and your email inbox is a really good place to start. Okay, so thank you for that. So I also want to talk about this, and I'd love for you to put in the chat how many email accounts you have. So let's go back to when we all had jobs, okay? If you guys still have jobs, this probably is relevant. When you have a job and you have a business email account, if you lose that job, you lose that email inbox immediately, right? It's like, I've been laid off before, got laid off. Practically by the time you get back to your desk, your email shut off. All your stuff is gone, right? So if you have a job, you want to have a personal account. All right. Now, if you don't have a job and you have your own business, I'm going to strongly encourage you to have one, maybe two email inboxes. Okay, you guys. All right. 5, 4, 2 is okay. 4, 4, 1 is good. Okay. So here's the reason. Yes. So one for my business, one client mandated. That's okay. All right. That's good. Good point. I have clients who who I have email addresses in their, in their business, that's separate because that's for them. I'm talking about for us. So thank you for differentiating between that. Okay. Now, the reason I want you to have one or maybe two is that two reasons. One, I won't even ask you how many calendars you have because I know this is another area and I want to encourage you to have one, but it's hard to keep track of them. You're one person. You're just one person. So unless you have a job, I want you to try to get down to one email address. And it's very scary. And it's also nostalgic because there was this one email address I had for like 20 years, but I started moving things over to my Rocket Girl Solutions email account. And what I discovered was only junk was going over there. So to my, my beloved email address. So I cut the cord and I let it go, but it took a long time. And I'm really glad that I did. So the first reason is you're going to miss stuff and you have too many places to track. And if each one of those inboxes has 50 jillion emails, which they probably do, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. Now, the second reason is every single time I send an email out, down at the bottom are a couple of things. One is my logo, Rocket Girl Solutions, solving operational problems, blah, blah, blah. A link to my website, right? Really important. So that's like a billboard. And the third thing is a link for people to get on my calendar for a free 30-minute consultation. And that's for people who are interested in hiring me to be their part-time business manager or virtual assistant. So what happens is people just get on my calendar because I'm emailing everyone now, like my daughter's teacher or a college or whatever. So you don't want to miss the opportunity of having that billboard. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So from what you've said, it sounds like this is what it currently feels like, right? It just currently feels like this. And I'm going to talk to you about some different ways of thinking about your inbox. And I'm also going to give you the solution for how to clean it up without making it perfect, okay? Because that's a big thing. I know, especially for some of us, we want it to be all right and lined up. But if you have 27,000 emails, or if you have even 400, well, maybe 400, but any more than that, you can't get it perfect. So I'm going to teach you how to fix that. All right. Okay, here's the first big one. All right, ready? Your inbox is not a filing cabinet. Your email at all is not a filing cabinet. It's not a filing cabinet. And we get really tripped up on this because we think we have to save everything, right? Jennifer's laughing. Yeah, seriously, it's not. Like, think about it this way. This was such an aha for me. I delivered this talk a long time ago, and it was live, so that's how long ago. And one of the women asked me about folders in my inbox, and I thought, oh, she's saving everything. And I thought that would be like getting your mail and putting the bills back in your mailbox at the end of the street, right? That's what that is, right? Email is a delivery mechanism. It's not a storage unit. It's not where you should be searching for anything, okay? We're going to talk about workflow in a minute of your email inbox, but what I really want to say here is that I'm going to repeat it, it's a delivery mechanism. So Jennifer says, I deal with government contracts, so it's hard for me to let go. All right, you don't have to let go of the contracts if that's what you're talking about, because what I'm going to explain is an easy way to find files in like 2 seconds. All right, there are files that I've had for 11 years. If someone said, where is that? I could find it, and we're going to talk about that. Okay, but really, your email inbox is not a filing cabinet. So what I want you to do, all right, let's jump into this. All right, I want you to establish a workflow. And what I mean by a workflow is a series of steps that you use every day, all day, for managing your email. Now, from a systems point of view, these things only work if we do them all the time. It's like, I learned this in a kind of an interesting way. I used to have a roommate who always lost their keys. it was a disaster. Losing, like every time, they went out, they had to find their keys. And so finally I put a basket at the front of the apartment and said, put your keys here, like don't take your keys out of your hand, just put them right here. So these systems are really valuable, again, because it frees us up to be creative. So in order for this to work, you're going to have to create a workflow that you follow all the time. All right. So when emails come into my inbox, from time to time, I look at them. I try not to look at them every 30 seconds for a couple of reasons. One, when I'm doing a chunk of client work, I want to just stay focused on that, because my job and your job as an entrepreneur is to do things that are billable, things that are generating revenue. Okay. And checking email is not one of them if you're just fooling around in there. Right. So what I do is I look at my email and I archive everything I don't need. All right. Now I don't delete it, because all day long I'm making decisions. I make 50 jillion decisions all day, just like you. In fact, if I'm tired at the end of the day, it's usually because I've had to make a lot of decisions, because it's exhausting. All right. This or that, this or that. So what I decided early on was that I was never going to delete an email. I was only going to archive it. And the reason is that it cut a whole decision out of the equation. Okay. Now, yes, I have to pay more for the storage for my email, but it's some number that I don't even know what it is, like $2 a month. It's much better for me to spend $2 a month to store my email in the archive and go make, $100 an hour working with the client than it is to try to save $2 a month. All right. Now, that's not always the case. There are some things, inefficiencies you want to get rid of, but my inbox is not, storage is not one of them for me. Okay. So the emails come in and I archive. So I get something from Amazon or LL Bean or, things I don't need. The only things I keep in my inbox are actionable items that need my assistance. Okay. That's all I keep in there. If there's something that comes in that I need to have nearby or at my fingertips, actually, that's the word I want to use. But I don't want to be tripping on it in my inbox. Like, let's say my daughter used to travel to Boston a lot. So let's say I bought her a ticket. Amtrak sent me the ticket. I don't want to file it in a folder. I don't want to get all tangled up in that, 20 million folders, and then I can never find it. But I want it out of my inbox because I don't want to keep thinking about it. Okay. So I have a folder called fingertips, things I want to keep at my fingertips, and emails like that go there. All right. Now, pro tip, I don't clean out my fingertips folder. The things I need are at the top just because of how it works. So there are things in there that are probably 7 or 10 years old, but I don't need to spend billable time cleaning them out, because the whole point is to have the things I need at the top, and that's where they are, right? And that's the whole point. Okay. So this might be a little bit different way of thinking about it as well. So I'm just cleaning things out, because the truth is if I get an email from a place where I want to go shopping or something, I can take it out of my inbox. I can put it in fingertips. I can put it on a Post-it, put it on my desk. Remember, you want to go look at XYZ, or I can look at it right there and make a decision of what I want to do. Okay. Okay. So all right, so we're going to keep our inbox cleaned out. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you how to get it to that place, okay? So we're going to keep it cleaned out. If we have something that we're going to need to reference later, and we want to get it out of our inbox, then I would create a folder for it. All right, so I have folders for my things, my personal things that I want to reference. It's funny, I set it up because I thought I was supposed to have folders. And so I was very systematic about thinking about all my stuff. The truth is most of them I could delete, and yeah, I could just get rid of them, but I'm not tripping on them. So I'm just leaving them. But what you want to do is what I have is a folder called clients, and each client has a folder. Now, I used to have, so the other thing I want to tell you about is that my system doesn't let things drop through the cracks. All right. Cause that's critical. I can't take something out of my inbox and not have a way to find it again. So for example, I had a client, John, he would send me his newsletter to put into MailChimp a week ahead of time. And I couldn't put it in early. It's a long story, doesn't matter, but I had to do it on a certain day. So John's email went in John's folder. The day I needed to perform the work, I put on my calendar, John's newsletter right there. I look at my calendar every, I don't know, at least every hour. Okay. So when I got to Wednesday, I would see John's newsletter and I would know that I had to do that. And I would know it's in the folder because that's my system. And it's been the same forever. Okay. Now, if someone sends me an attachment, I only keep it if I'm going to need it in the future. Okay. So let me give you an example. Let's go back to the newsletter example. So let's say that someone emails me their newsletter copy, right? They want me to put together with graphics and stuff and send out. And I know I leave it in my inbox. I put their name on my calendar as a little tickler. You can use project management software too. This is just less expensive and easier. I put their name, Michelle, on my calendar. And then I just leave that in my inbox because I'm going to handle it on the next day, probably next 24 hours. So then what happens is I look at my calendar, I decide to do Michelle's work. I go over to my inbox and we're going to talk about this more, but I pull up all the emails from Michelle in case she's emailed me multiple times. And just to make sure I have everything that I need, I'll open the Word document. That is the attachment. I'll take those words, I'll put them where they need to be for her, or I'll complete the work, whatever it is. It could be on a website. It could be, a million different things she's asking me to do with the Word document. I then send her a test of the work or show her on her website, here's the work, it's finished. And then what happens is she says, great, we're done. I close the Word document. I don't save it. I don't need it. And if I need to find it, I can because I've archived it, right? But I'm not tripping on it. And now I don't have, because Michelle and I have been doing newsletters together for, I don't know, 6 years. So 6 times 12, whatever that is. I would have that many, however that many that is, 60 something of her documents in my folder clogging up my Dropbox, and I don't need that. So really only save the things that you're going to need to reference in the future, okay? And I have a system for downloading those. And to Jennifer's point about dealing with government contracts and having all like attachments and things like that, you have to have a very clear system for saving your files. So for example, I use Dropbox. You can use Drive, OneDrive, you can use Google Drive, whatever you want. So the folder is called clients, and then I have the clients' names, and everybody has a folder pretty much all the way down. And then I organize it inside there. So I use subfolders, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I think I went ahead of myself. So download the attachments only when you need them, okay? And you can err on the side of downloading too many, but I don't want you to spend 1 minute looking for a download, looking for an attachment in an email. It's just too, it wastes time. It wastes time. Okay, so let's just look in the comments for a second. Okay, the folders are on the left side. Yes, Dropbox is awesome. Okay, great. Great, or I'm going to move forward, all right? So downloading the attachments, very important, and only save what you need in the future. And remember, and I know I've said this, but this is something people hold on really tightly to, so I'm going to repeat myself. Because you're archiving and not deleting, you can easily find all the emails from one person and scroll through if you need it. So if you're big into, covering your, what, you can still do that. All right. You're not giving up. If you knew me for more than a minute, you would know I'm a total control freak, and I don't just like fling things out into the air. My systems are airtight, but you have to, follow whatever you set up for it to work. All right. So I want to talk about making the folders meaningful. Okay. Now this is about email. It's also about Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive. You want to make sure that, like, for example, let's say a client sends you headshots for some reason. They want you to put them on their website or whatever the reason. You want to organize them so you're not tripping on them in your file folder system and also in your email. So I have seen people save every email that comes in, they organize it, and then it's just a big giant mess and they can't find it anyway, right? So if, for example, you wanted to, if Jennifer, if you wanted to save the contracts in your email in a special place because you just really felt like you had to, have a folder with the client's name and then 2022 contracts, and keep it organized so that you can come back to it. Now, when you download the files from the email, one of the things about using meaningful folders is so you can find things quickly. Now, I am old enough that in the dark ages, we had 8 characters, dot, and an extension. All right, how many of you remember that? Let me know in the chat, right? So you had to come up with these crazy ways of naming things. Now you can call the folder headshots from 2021, Bob's headshots from 2021. Right? You can call it, anything you want. So you really want to be descriptive when you're doing your work so that you can find them. And that is how I'm able to find all kinds of information on my hard drive without much fuss. So Jennifer says all of her contracts are on Dropbox. That's great. Okay, Monica. Okay. Monica's worried about the recording, but this is webinar. This is not regular Zoom, and I can tell it's being recorded. All right, how do you handle the miscellaneous matters in your inbox, which are like good to have for reference? Okay, that's all right. So that's a good question. So the first thing I want you to do is really look yourself in the eye and say, are you really ever going to use these again? Because, I'm like you, probably a little bit, all of you, in that I have kept things. I'm doing that right now, actually. I'm doing that for a podcast course. There's a woman who has a course, and I'm thinking about starting a podcast. And so I'm saving everything that she's sending me. But the truth is I'm actually not going to ever read them again. I'm just not. So what I'm doing right now is I'm kidding myself, and I have a folder. I'm putting it all in there. I'm keeping it out of the way. And I have this fantasy that one day I'm going to go in and look at all of them, really think about it. But I know what I'm really going to do is I'm going to go to her website. I'm going to see what's going on, and I'm going to probably just jump in because I'm not going to read all 32 emails that are probably in that folder. So that's the first thing. Then if it's something, here's the other thing you can do. All right. So you can create a filter in Gmail if you're using Gmail, and you can likely do this in Outlook too. But for example, if you get, like I get an email all the time from this woman, it's called the Effortless Kitchen. And it's just kind of cool. I've known her for a while. I would like the chance to look at her emails, but sometimes I archive them just to get them out of there, because I'm like, I can't do this now. So what you can do is you can set up what's called a filter in Gmail, and it will take an email from a certain address, put it in a folder, and you can check a box that says skip the inbox. So that's what you could do. If there's someone you're following, I've absolutely done that. So it skips the inbox and it goes into that folder, and that's pretty straightforward. You do that in email under settings, labels, and I think it's called labels and filtering or something like that. I think it's filtering. You can do that. So that's a great way to do that. And then the quick reference is where I keep the things, like if I order something and I ordered a gift recently for someone, and it's not a store I've used very often. And if it didn't arrive, I'd want to try to remember, I'd want to know where the gift was coming from, so that I put into my fingertip folder. If I ordered it on Amazon, I wouldn't do that because all my orders are in my Amazon account. So it's just when I'm afraid, I ordered that on Etsy, I have no idea where that was. So that's how I handle that. So I hope that answers your question. What do you do when you have certain clients 1 year, example 2022, that come back for future projects or sessions in after years? How do you organize them? That's a really good question. That's a good question. So here's how I do it. I try to keep things as simple as possible because I'm with entrepreneurs all day long who are way overthinking it. And it's funny, you have to ask for help when that happens. This weekend, I was buying a planter thing for a friend who I don't really know that well. And I spent 30 minutes, seriously, I was enjoying it, but then it got to be uncomfortable, looking for the right pot to put this succulent in. Finally went over to the owner who I know, and I just said, I am overthinking this. I just need something for this to go in. She picked something up. I liked it. We were done, $14, yay, and I was just really overthinking it. So try to just break it down, keep it as simple as possible. All right, so all right, Michael, here's how I handle this. I have a client folder, all their names, and I don't break it up by year, because then I have clients I've had for 10 years. I'd have to remember what year we did that, and that's not going to happen. Then I have a folder that's called Z period client archive. Now, the reason it's called Z period is I want it to go at the bottom of the list of folders, and they're alphabetical. So Z pushes it down. When a client goes away, I just drag their folder in the Z client archive, and it's all there. If you're sure that they're not coming back, they've retired or whatever, and you just want to get rid of them, at that point you can. But I keep them for a couple of years, because clients have come back and they've been very happy that I still have their headshots, or still have, whatever it is that that you need. So that's how I do that. And it's been very successful. Okay. All right. William says in Outlook, it's called mail rule. Okay, so that's the filtering. Okay. Monica does the same Z folder. Yeah. What do you do to organize the names, last name, first name? So I just, their first name and their last name. Yeah. And I don't do their company name, because that can be confusing, because I really relate to them. I mean, this is going to sound funny, but I have clients, I have no idea what their company's called, because that's not the kind of work that we do. I don't talk about the client work with them that much. It's mostly making the systems work more smoothly. Okay. All right, great. All right, so use meaningful folder names for sure. Okay, so now I want to talk about what I call lumping. All right. Lumping is when I work with a client, I want to do as much of their work all at once as I can. And the reason is that I get paid by the hour, and no matter whether you get paid by the hour or not, your time is really valuable, right? So you want to be as efficient as you can, so that you can maximize your billability, maximize how much money you make. And also it takes a lot of decisions out of things and a lot of remembering. And my systems for me, are designed so that I don't have to remember anything but the system. And that's because I can't. Yeah, I can't. I just work with too many people at one time to remember, all the details. So what happens is, let's say, like I mentioned before, here's an example. So my client, Robin, she jumped into my inbox this morning, and there's some things that are still in my inbox that I want to deal with her, but I was waiting to hear back from her. So what I did was, what I'm going to do probably when we're finished, is I'm going to go into Gmail, and I'm going to sort it by all the emails from Robin that are in my inbox. So all the things that are actionable that are in my inbox, they're all going to come up. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'm going to read through them to make sure I understand, because when you do that, you want to make sure you don't react to this email when maybe they changed it here, and you're just blowing up their email. I would just consider that not the most professional way to handle that. So I look through all of them, see what's happening, make some decisions. Now, if I need to take notes, because sometimes we need to take notes, or sometimes someone will send us information in an email that we know we're going to need later, and we're going to reference it. So I use Evernote. You can use OneNote, you can, whatever you want, but I had Evernote. So in Evernote, same thing, client notebook, each client has a note. The newest information goes at the top. I draw a line in between the information so that I can sort of, see how it's grouped, and I put information there. So that way, if I had talked to Robin on the phone, there's likely some notes. I'll organize the emails, and then I'll do the work, and then I'll email her back and let her know. So that's how I'm able to, to work through the flow. But so what lumping means is opening them all at the same, sorting your inbox so that all the emails are there together, so you can really look at the whole thing. I think that saves a lot of time. And also, it's so hard if you have even 50 or 40 emails in your inbox to look for the emails from one person, and then, to open them and read them and remember what's going on. This way, like, Robin has sent me 3 emails. My inbox will only show those three emails, and I'll be able to manage it. Okay. Okay. Now, if your inbox is a total mess, I want to, well, tell me. So I'm going to explain exactly how to fix it. But what I want to do right now is I want to see if there's any questions. So I'm just going to take a minute to see if there's any questions about what we were talking about so far. And I know there's a lag, so I'm just going to have some tea. So here's a question. How hard do you think it will be to break your habits? That's the question. Because, you know, the thing is, whenever we create a new system, we have to sort of be a different person, right? We can't be the person who's bragging about how many emails they get, or we can't be bragging about, you know, oh, it's such a mess. In fact, I kind of keep quiet about it because people are like, what? Okay, what are the pluses of Gmail, Hotmail, and the many others? Oh, that's a great question, Frank. Okay, so that's a great question. I'm really glad you brought that up. Okay, so when you have a business, you want to use the domain name for your company. My email address is not rocketgirlsolutions@gmail.com. I do not want you to do that. If you're running a business, even if you're just starting the business, this should be one of the first things you do as soon as you name your business. Register your domain. You can get it for like, I don't know, $11 a year if you just want to buy it for a year, and set up your email. You can do that a few different ways, but I have to tell you, if you are worried about imposter syndrome or people, you know, wondering if you're in business for real, as soon as they see a Gmail or a Hotmail, it's like ding, 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 you know, you're definitely new to the game. And it's a tip, not a tip, like a clue that you're not taking your business seriously when you do that. So thank you for the question. Now let's talk about Gmail and 365, Microsoft 365. Both of those platforms are great, okay? And there are paid versions so that you can use Belinda at rocketgirlsolutions.com, or, you know, your name at whatever your business is. While we're talking about this, let me mention something that just popped into my mind. When you're getting an email address, just use your first name. It's always also a clue when someone is starting out that they've had a long corporate, which I have too. I was in corporate for 17 years. But when their name is like, their email address is like bsandor@whatever.com. If it's just you, just be Belinda, just be John. And it's funny because one of the advantages we have as a small business is that people deal directly with us. You know, there's no, what's the word? I can't think of the word, but stuff in the way of you know, dealing with the owner, and people appreciate that. The word's coming, it's like right here, I can't think of it. Anyway, so be friendly, be approachable, just use your first name and your company. All right, now that said, I have my business is run on Gmail. It's run on paid Gmail. It's called transparent, pretense. Those are good. I was going to say like confusion, you know, like it, but that's better. Pretense and transparency is much better. So with Gmail, I love Gmail. That's my number one choice. And the reason is when I switched to paid Gmail, which is now called, I think, Google Workspace, they change the name every 10 minutes. But you can just Google paid Gmail and whatever they're calling it, it will pop up. So the reason I like it is because it integrates with everything. Back in the day, when I changed my email, it was probably about 9 or 10 years ago. I was using Outlook, and Outlook wasn't syncing. It wasn't in the cloud. It was really a nightmare, and it was causing me a lot of mistakes and problems. So one of my friends said, switch to Gmail. I was such a big Microsoft person at the time. I was like, oh no, I can't do that. And, but I did. And best thing ever, because the integrations are seamless, you know? So for example, you can set it up so that if you have a CRM and you want everybody that emails you to go in there, you can do that. You can sync Google Calendar to Calendly, Acuity, on different calendar scheduling softwares. And most of the time it's just click, click, click. It's very simple. Now, here's a tip. If you decide to use paid Gmail, you only need the $6 one. It might not be $6 anymore, but you just need the basic one, okay? So what you want to do is you want to sign up for the email. They're going to give you a free trial for 12 days or something. Go into your account immediately and pay for it and choose the lowest one that you can. All right, because what's going to happen is 6 months from now, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I'm paying $12 a month. I thought it was $6. So just forego the 2 weeks of free, or put it on your calendar and change it. The only difference between the different levels of Gmail, free and the paid and the basic and all of those, is the amount of storage you get. That's the only difference. People kept asking me that, so I finally researched it. That is the difference. All right. So know that. Now, Outlook is good too. I'm just more comfortable using Gmail. It's more intuitive to me how it works. There was a struggle in the beginning for sure. And one of the things I want to mention to you, no matter what you're using, they have something called conversation view. I think in Outlook it's called nesting, where the messages are nested. Turn that off immediately, because what happens is if somebody sends you an email and then someone else responds and then someone else responds, you have to come up to this email and read all the way down. So you want your emails to go in your inbox individually. And yes, if there's a conversation, there could be several emails, but just, sort by that view of the people who are in that conversation, and then, work your way through and archive the ones you don't need. But a couple of times conversation view somehow got turned on for me, and it was not good. It was not good. So that's that's something to remember. All right, so now we're going to talk about stopping the bleeding, which is what do you do if your email inbox is huge? All right, so I want you to admit, if you have that many emails, that your inbox is a mess, right? It's a total mess. What I want you to do is create a folder. You can call it whatever the heck you want. You can call it archive. Well, you don't want to call it archive because there is an archive in Gmail and in Outlook. Old emails, okay? Big smeary mess, whatever you want to call it. And then I want you to take all of your emails, except maybe the last 2 weeks, and I want you to move them all to that folder. Now you have lost nothing, okay? You've lost nothing because it was a big mess before. It's still a big mess. It's just not in your inbox, okay? You still have access to them. Then what I want you to do is go into your inbox that has, maybe 100 or 200 emails, and I want you to go through and apply the system. Archive what you don't need, things you need later, put in fingertips or in a folder, put them on your calendar so you don't forget about it because you took it out of your inbox, right? If your email inbox was a reminder, like a trigger to remind you, you need to put the trigger someplace else, okay? Because we want to keep your inbox clean. And then go through the your old emails that are in that folder, go back a month or so or whatever you need to do to make sure there aren't any bombs, move anything you need to the inbox, and then just leave it there. Just leave it there. It's impossible, even if you have 1,000 emails, it's impossible to get it all cleaned up. And I work with a lot of people who want it just to be perfect. Just let it go. All right. It's not billable. So put them all over there. Okay. All right. So we have some questions. All right. So that was very fast for me. Can you please explain that again? Yes, I talk really fast. Okay. Create a folder and call it my old emails or something like that. Take all of the emails out of your inbox and put them in that folder. Okay. I'm going to say it a little differently this time because I think it makes more sense. Put them all in there. Then open that folder and go through, and anything that needs to be moved to your inbox, move it to your inbox. Anything actionable. Okay. So now what you have is you have an inbox that you can live with, right? So maybe it has 50 emails or 100 emails, but it doesn't have 27,000. So it's a way of cleaning it out and moving it to the side so that you can have that fresh start that we all want without opening another account. So let me know if that makes sense. Okay. All right. Michael says, let's see, hold on. Yes. Okay, good. That made sense. Good. Okay. Yeah, because you haven't lost anything. You still have all the emails. You're just not tripping all over them all the time. And I got to tell you, anyone that has 27,000 emails, probably every time they look in their inbox, they go, oh, right? So you've got this energy that's just sucking the life out of you. Oh, good. Monica says, yes. How easy is it for to move thousands to my old email? It depends on what your email, who's hosting your email. It used to be difficult with Gmail, but they have recently, and I Googled it because someone needed this, and there's a way to like move them all. You have to use the filters to sort through, but if you Google it, you'll likely find how to do it. Okay. And then someone says it depends on if you're, okay, Monica says, I also use the starred on the left side in Gmail by clicking on the star to stand out. Yes, yes, that's really good too. All right, let me just think for a minute. There's a couple things I want to talk about. So I'm just looking at the chat. I have multiple screens, so it looks like I'm looking away. Okay. So Michael says, I've considered using Microsoft Outlook for multiple inboxes to read in one place, but it doesn't seem to be secure if someone hacks or has access to the Outlook password. Okay, so let's talk about alternatives. All right, I did not think about this until now, so it's not in this presentation, but I'm going to tell you some things. Two things. One is that if you're really tied to having multiple email addresses, or if you have multiple email addresses for clients, then this is a good solution. I don't remember how much it costs, but it was a number that I was willing to pay it because it was going to make my life easier. So part of the problem is, let's say you have 2 emails for clients that are 365. Every time you log into one, it bumps you out of the other. So you're constantly logging in, major pain, right? So there's an application, it's called tryshift.com. So tryshift.com. What that does is it allows you, and I don't know what's on my desktop. I would show it to you, but I really shouldn't because it's client information. But I have I'm logged into like 7 email accounts all at once, and I just click and the inbox shows up in the calendar, and it's almost like a browser on its side. So instead of the browser tabs being up here, they're on the side, and they're not conflicting with each other. So I can have 5 or 6 emails open all in 365, and they're not fighting each other. Now Gmail doesn't do that. Gmail, you can have 5 Gmail accounts open in the same browser. They don't log you in and out and in and out. You just you have them open all the time. So if you have a lot of Outlook 365 accounts, tryshift.com. The other thing, it is possible. I didn't think about this ahead of time, so I'm not going to go into it deeply because I don't want to confuse you. But there is a way that you can have 5 email inboxes in your Gmail. And if you Google that, how to have more inboxes, I don't mean accounts, I mean places you can save things. But unless you're running a pretty complicated business, like really complicated, I don't recommend you doing that, because I think it's just like stuffing things in the drawer. You don't want to just keep stuffing things in the drawers. You want to, you want a system that's really clean, really clean. All right. So let me look at there's more messages. So someone's asking, is there an easy way to delete old emails? It would be the same thing as archiving. You would select them all, and then you would just delete instead of archiving. Jan says, what about those things that are there as a reminder to me? I would find another reminder system. So for me, it's my calendar. It could also be project management software. It could be, a Post-it. This is the least best way to do it. But for example, when I got some work came into my inbox that I need to handle, I put it on my calendar. I left it in my inbox because I'm going to I'm going to do it today. I got it yesterday. So something that's just going to be 24 or 36 hours, I leave in my inbox. And then beyond that, I decide how I want to handle it. But I just put like a tickler. It's a 15 minutes on my calendar. It just says the client's name and maybe, like Robin-NL newsletter. I'm doing her newsletter. So I have a little shorthand, but that's, you don't want your email to be anything but a delivery mechanism like your mailbox. Okay. Okay. I'm just looking at the, okay, here's a question. Monica, can I merge 2 of my Gmail accounts into one? No, but what you can do is share one email account with the other so they're both in the same place. And I don't know if that makes sense to you, but if you look at in settings, the share feature, you just invite the other. So let's say you have, okay, let me just think for a second. Let's say you have old email and new email, all right? And you want the old one to go into the new. So you'd go into old, you'd share it with the new, and then you'll get an email that says old email has shared, and then you click, and then you'll have another calendar, or another email account inside your mail. So you can toggle between them. So you can definitely do that. But you can't like merge them. So you have to keep the old one open. You can't delete it. If you delete it, it will go away, but you can, send it over. Okay, so S is saying something about Spark. I don't know about that, so I'm not able to comment. For email reminders, you can create a Zapier account and we'll create an integration rule. So every time you send an email to yourself that meets a certain set of criteria, it will write it to your calendar. Or if you use Outlook, you can drag the email to your calendar. Interesting. I do use Zapier, but I have not done that. I've just found it for me, I get a lot of emails, but it's not enough that I would want to do that. So it's more manual. I see the email come in, I respond, thanks, I'm going to do it Wednesday. Then I just, click my calendar, type her name and hit enter and I'm done. The other thing I like about that is it adds it to my calendar. So if people don't know what Zapier is, it's a way to connect 2 applications in just the way that S was talking about. You connect like email to a Google Sheet, and every time you get an email, it has a trigger and it'll copy the email address to a Google Sheet. There's just different integrations you can do. There's a jillion of them. So Zapier is it's a good way to do that. All right, so I think we're ready for some questions. I'm just going to remind us of what we talked about today really quickly. So your inbox is not a filing cabinet. You need to establish an email workflow. And when I'm first establishing a new workflow, I have an example of one right here. So this is something that I'm working on. It's a project that's new that I want to create a habit for. So I write down the steps. And I look at it until it's ingrained. And maybe I'm going to have to, use this checklist for a long time, but that's okay. All right. So, so establish a flow, what you're going to do when attachments come, where you're going to put them, how are you going to have a tickler to remind you of the things that were in your inbox, or what's your schedule going to be for managing that. You don't have to be rigid about it, but just have some steps. You're going to want to download the attachments so that you're not tripping on them or looking for them ever, if possible. Create meaningful folders in your email and also in your Dropbox or wherever you store your files. I want you to lump your emails. So what I mean by that is, look at them all at once so it's not so scattered, and know that if you work with anyone that's like one of my clients, they'll send one thing, then they'll send another thing, then they'll send something else. And I need to understand all of it before I can, intelligently solve whatever it is that they're asking for. And then stop the bleeding. I mean, this is the biggest thing, just stop the bleeding. Move everything to a folder, clean your inbox, feel better about your life, feel better about everything. And then, I think you'll be much happier. All right, so I'd love to hear, how did this land for you? Questions, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks, Belinda. A lot of ground covered there, and a lot of great advice. We'll now use, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes. We'll use the rest of that time for questions. Just a reminder, if you can use the Q&A box there and just type in your questions, we'll take as many as we can up to the top of the hour, and we'll go from there. So,
okay, fabulous. It's such an emotional thing, email inboxes, because on one hand, people are like, oh, I have so many emails. And on the other hand, it's like, oh my gosh, and it's hard, because when you're cleaning your inbox out and you're trying to get it to be perfect, each thing that's in there is a message, it's sort of talking to you, asking you or nagging you, or, just giving you more information. And we all have so much information. Okay, thank you. You're welcome, Monica.
Maybe people are questioned out. They did so many during the presentation.
I know. I love that. Yeah. Christina says, thank you for the presentation. I have work to do. Yeah. Just be patient with yourself. Sure.
Belinda, I think Monica's, do you have a slide with your contact information? Like a couple people.
I did not do that, but it's rocketgirlsolutions.com.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought about that. Yes, Rocket Girl Solutions. And my email is Belinda at Rocket Girl Solutions. I wonder if that's the Karen Herman that I know. I know Karen Herman. Good food for thought. Yeah. Yes, it is. Hello, Karen Herman. Yes. So that's awesome. So be gentle with yourself. And just the big takeaway is, don't try to make it perfect. You can't. You can't. And I have tried, believe me, because like I said, I'm a control freak. And so you just want to move them into that folder, and then move on. And move on.
Okay, it looks like we're getting some great feedback here, but that we don't have any further questions. So we're going to maybe end a couple of minutes early. And just a reminder to everyone, the webinar has been recorded, and the materials will be available within the next day or so on our website. And our next webinar will be this Thursday at noon, and the topic is business planning SWOT analysis, with Harvey Hoffman presenting. And again, if you want to take advantage of free individual counseling, you can use the yellow bit.ly link on the screen, or you can go to our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, and click on Request a Mentor. If I could ask you to please fill out your evaluations at the end of the webinar. They're very helpful to us when we are planning our webinars. And lastly, on behalf of SCORE, thanks to everyone for attending our live webinar today. And in closing, a special thank you to Belinda Sandor for her efforts in this. I know it was very helpful to a lot of people, I can tell by the feedback. So stay well, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.